What 16-year-old Marcus discovered in the dumpster would revolutionize 50 families' lives and shock Ellen DeGeneres beyond words. The Ellen DeGeneres Show was alive with its signature energy at the Warner Brothers studio in Burbank, with Ellen stepping onto the stage in her classic white button-down and navy blazer, her radiant smile immediately energizing the audience of 300, who erupted in enthusiastic applause. The familiar studio atmosphere embraced everyone present, featuring its iconic blue sky backdrop with fluffy white clouds and swaying palm trees, while the famous white chairs with their sleek black wooden legs awaited another afternoon of remarkable human stories. "Welcome back, everybody," Ellen called out, as the opening music faded, her voice carrying that perfect combination of warmth and excitement that had made her show a beacon of inspiration for nearly 2 decades. Today, I want to tell you about someone who is going to completely change the way you think about age, about potential, and about what's possible when one person decides to turn the world's trash into another person's treasure. And when I tell you how old this person is, you're going to think I'm making it up. The studio buzzed with anticipation as camera operators positioned themselves and the production team prepared for what they sensed would be another emotionally powerful segment. It was Wednesday afternoon, and the energy in the room reflected the middle-of-the-week momentum that Ellen's show brought to millions of viewers seeking daily inspiration. In the green room, 16-year-old Marcus Chen sat quietly, his hands folded over a worn backpack that contained evidence of a journey that had begun 3 years ago in his family's apartment complex dumpster. Marcus looked like any other teenager, sneakers, jeans, a simple t-shirt, but what he had accomplished in 3 short years had caught the attention of technology journalists, business leaders, and now Ellen's producers, who had never featured anyone quite so young with such an extraordinary story. Marcus lived with his grandmother, Rosa Chen, in a modest apartment complex in East Los Angeles. His parents had died in a car accident when he was 10, leaving Rosa, a retired seamstress living on Social Security, to raise her grandson with limited resources but unlimited love. Money was always tight in their household, but Rosa had taught Marcus that creativity and hard work could overcome almost any obstacle. The transformation in Marcus's life had begun 3 years ago when he was 13 years old and discovered a broken laptop computer in the dumpster behind their apartment building. While most teenagers might have seen worthless trash, Marcus saw potential. He had always been fascinated by how things worked, spending hours taking apart old radios and appliances that neighbors threw away, studying their internal mechanisms with the curiosity of a born engineer. That first broken laptop became Marcus's. Graduate school in technology repair. He spent weeks researching online tutorials, learning about circuit boards, processors, and hard drives. Using tools he improvised from kitchen utensils and items he found around the apartment, Marcus slowly brought the laptop back to life. When it finally powered on after months of patient work, Marcus experienced a rush of accomplishment that changed the trajectory of his entire life. But Marcus's story wasn't just about fixing one computer. What happened next revealed the heart of a young man who understood that his skills could serve a purpose far greater than personal satisfaction. Instead of keeping the restored laptop for himself, Marcus gave it to Mrs. Rodriguez, an elderly neighbor whose grandchildren couldn't do their homework because they didn't have access to a computer. Word of Marcus's technical abilities spread through the apartment complex, and soon neighbors began bringing him their broken electronics. Old smartphones with cracked screens, tablets that wouldn't charge, gaming systems that had stopped working. Marcus tackled each challenge with the methodical approach of someone 3 times his age. But what made his story extraordinary wasn't just his technical skill, it was his business model. Marcus had developed what he privately called the Robin Hood system. He would accept broken electronics from anyone, regardless of their ability to pay. For families who could afford to pay for repairs, He charged modest fees that helped him buy tools and replacement parts. But for families struggling financially, and there were many in his neighborhood, Marcus provided free repairs and, when possible, completely refurbished devices. As his reputation grew, Marcus began receiving broken electronics from outside his immediate neighborhood. Local businesses started donating their old equipment instead of throwing it away. A nearby electronics store began giving him damaged items that would normally be discarded. Marcus's bedroom had transformed into a sophisticated repair workshop with organized bins of components, testing equipment he had built himself, and detailed charts tracking which families in his community needed technological assistance. But the most remarkable aspect of Marcus's operation was what he had discovered about the digital divide in his own neighborhood. Through his repair work, Marcus learned that many of his neighbors' children were falling behind in school simply because they lacked access to basic technology. Students couldn't complete online assignments, parents couldn't communicate with teachers through email, and families were increasingly isolated from resources and opportunities that required internet access. This discovery had motivated Marcus to expand his mission. He began systematically identifying families in his community who lacked access to computers or reliable internet, then working to provide them with refurbished equipment at no cost. Over 3 years, Marcus had personally delivered functional computers to 50 different families, always ensuring that the recipients understood how to use their new equipment and had access to internet connectivity. What made Marcus's story even more remarkable was how he had funded his expanding operation. Working entirely through word-of-mouth referrals, Marcus had built a legitimate technology repair business that generated enough income to support his charitable activities while contributing to his grandmother's household expenses. He had developed relationships with local electronic suppliers who gave him bulk discounts on parts, and he had taught himself advanced diagnostic techniques that allowed him to repair devices that professional shops often declared irreparable. The moment that had brought Marcus to Ellen's attention occurred 6 months ago when a local journalist, investigating technology access issues in underserved communities, had stumbled upon Marcus's operation. The journalist, expecting to write a story about digital inequality, instead found himself documenting the extraordinary efforts of a teenager who was single-handedly addressing the problem in his own neighborhood. The resulting article had caught the attention of several major technology companies, but Marcus had politely declined their offers of sponsorship or partnership. He explained that he wanted to maintain the personal, community-focused nature of his work, ensuring that every family he helped received individual attention rather than becoming part of a larger corporate initiative. But Marcus had accepted one form of recognition, a local community service award that came with a $5,000 prize. True to form, Marcus had used the entire amount to expand his repair operations, purchasing professional-grade tools and establishing a small fund to help families afford internet service for their newly acquired computers. A production assistant appeared at Marcus's side. "Marcus, you're ready to go out in just a minute. How are you feeling?" Marcus looked down at his backpack, which contained before and after photos of some of the computers he had restored, along with letters from families whose lives had been changed by his work. "Nervous," he admitted. "I'm not used to talking about what I do. I usually just focus on the work itself." "Please welcome Marcus Chen," Ellen announced, and Marcus walked onto the stage to warm, sustained applause. The audience immediately embraced this unassuming teenager who carried himself with a quiet confidence that seemed beyond his 16 years. Marcus moved with the careful precision of someone accustomed to working with delicate electronic components, and Ellen could see immediately why families would trust this young man with their most important technological needs. "Hi, Marcus," Ellen said warmly as they settled into the iconic white chairs. "Thank you so much for being here. Now, I have to start by asking, you're only 16 years old, is that correct?" "Yes, ma'am," Marcus replied, his voice clear and steady. "I'll be 17 next month." Ellen shook her head in amazement. 16 years old. "And I understand you run your own technology repair business?" Marcus nodded. "I started fixing electronics 3 years ago when I found a broken laptop in the dumpster behind our apartment building. I got curious about how it worked, and I taught myself how to repair it," the audience murmured with appreciation, clearly impressed by this teenager's initiative. "But this isn't just about making money, is it?" Ellen prompted gently. Marcus's face lit up with genuine passion. "No, not at all. I realized pretty quickly that a lot of families in my neighborhood couldn't afford computers for their kids to do homework. So I started giving away the devices I repaired to families who needed them but couldn't afford to buy them." Ellen leaned forward with interest. "How many families are we talking about?" 50 families so far," Marcus said simply. "Each one gets a fully functional computer, and I make sure they know how to use it and have internet access." The studio had grown noticeably quieter as the audience began to understand the scope of this teenager's impact. "Marcus, where do you get all these broken electronics?" Ellen asked. "Everywhere," Marcus said with a small smile. "People throw away so much technology that could be fixed with just a little work. I get donations from neighbors, local businesses, and electronics stores. One person's trash really can become another person's treasure." Ellen was clearly moved by Marcus's matter-of-fact description of what amounted to a sophisticated charitable operation. "Tell me about some of the families you've helped." Marcus reached into his backpack and pulled out a photo. "This is the DeGeneres family. They have 3 kids in elementary school, and the children were falling behind because they couldn't do online assignments at home. I was able to give them a laptop that I rebuilt from parts I found in 4 different broken computers." He pulled out another photo. "And this is Mrs. Park, an elderly lady who wanted to video chat with her grandchildren in Korea but couldn't afford a computer. I fixed an old desktop for her and taught her how to use video calling software." Ellen felt tears beginning to form in her eyes. "Marcus, do you understand what you've accomplished? You've given 50 families access to technology that could change their children's educational futures." Marcus looked genuinely surprised by Ellen's emotional response. "I just saw a problem in my community and tried to help fix it. When you have a skill that can help people, I think you should use it." Ellen stood up and moved to sit directly next to Marcus. "Marcus, you're 16 years old, and you've already created more positive impact than many people create in their entire lifetimes." "What drives you to do this work?" Marcus thought for a moment. "My grandmother always tells me that we're all connected, that when one person succeeds, it helps everyone. These families aren't strangers to me. They're my neighbors, my community. When their children do better in school because they have access to technology, it makes our whole neighborhood stronger." Ellen turned to address the camera directly. "Ladies and gentlemen, this young man is proving that age is just a number when it comes to making a difference in the world. At 16, Marcus has built a business, served his community, and shown us what's possible when someone combines technical skill with genuine compassion." The audience rose to their feet in spontaneous applause, recognizing that they were witnessing something truly special, a teenager who had found a way to turn society's waste into his community's wealth. Ellen looked back at Marcus. "What are your plans for the future?" "I want to keep expanding the program," Marcus said with quiet determination. "I'd like to help more families, maybe start teaching other young people how to repair electronics so they can help their communities too. There's so much technology being thrown away that could be helping people instead." Ellen pulled a letter from her jacket pocket. "Marcus, I have something for you. This is a letter from the CEO of a major technology company who heard about your work. He wants to donate $50,000 worth of refurbishing equipment to help you expand your operations." Marcus's eyes widened in shock. "Really? That would help so many more families." "But that's not all," Ellen continued with a growing smile. This show wants to contribute too. We're giving you a $25,000 check to support your work, and we're also setting up a fund where people can donate directly to your community technology program. Marcus was speechless for a moment, overwhelmed by the generosity. Finally, he found his voice. "This is incredible. This means I can help maybe 200 more families. Thank you so much." The episode aired exactly as it happened, becoming one of the most inspiring segments in Ellen Show history. Within hours, Lardash Tech Teen was trending worldwide as viewers shared Marcus's story and contributed to the fund Ellen had established. But the real impact came in the months that followed. Marcus's story inspired teenagers around the world to look for ways to use their skills to serve their communities. Technology companies began partnering with schools to teach electronics repair, and several cities started programs modeled on Marcus's community-focused approach. 6 months later, Marcus returned to Ellen's show with an update that brought even more joy. With the resources provided by Ellen's viewers and corporate partners, he had expanded his operation to serve 200 families and had trained 12 other teenagers to start similar programs in their neighborhoods. "Any regrets about starting this in a dumpster?" Ellen asked during the follow-up interview. "None at all," Marcus said with a confident smile. "That dumpster taught me that value isn't always obvious. Sometimes the most valuable things are the ones other people have given up on, whether that's electronics or people or communities. Because sometimes the most profound revolutions begin not in boardrooms or laboratories, but in the discarded dreams of a society that throws away too much too quickly." Marcus Chen had spent 3 years proving that one person's trash truly can become another person's treasure, and that the most powerful technology isn't found in the newest devices, but in the oldest human impulse to help others succeed. In a television studio that day, a teenager became a symbol of possibility, and audiences around the world were reminded that age is no barrier to changing lives, building communities, and transforming societies. Waste into hope for families who need it most.